AITA for cutting my wife's stepmother off from my kids until she deletes her Instagram account. I have 2 children, 8 months old and 5 years old, and we're expecting a third. Since our eldest was born, we have been clear and consistent about not wanting pictures of them posted online. It was my wife's idea, but still a mutual decision. Most of our friends and family have no problem with that, but we've had problems with my wife's stepmother. She has, on several occasions, posted photos of our children on her Instagram account without our consent. Most are harmless. Pictures of her with them or family photos with more people in them. But there have been a few times she took pictures of the kids behind their backs and posted them. Every time we see a photo of our children on her Instagram page, we tell her to delete it. She always does. But the next time she sees them, it happens again. We have been having this discussion with her since our daughter was born. She never listens. Anyway, my family spent New Year's Eve at a rented beach house with some of my wife's paternal family. Returned home on January 1st. That same day, my wife's stepmother posted several pictures from the trip. Between them were 3 photos of our kids on the beach, wearing swimsuits, and, except for one of the pictures, don't seem aware they're being photographed. I talked, and we both agreed we've given her stepmother enough chances. As long as she's active on social media, she will continue posting pictures of our children without our consent. We called her yesterday and said that she won't be allowed to see our kids unless she deletes her Instagram account. That means she won't have any kind of contact with them, receive pictures, or be invited to their events. She cried during the call and tried to promise us she would delete the New Year's Eve post and never do anything like this again. But we told her we can't trust her. She can keep her account if she wants to, but she won't be allowed near our kids if she does. My father-in-law, who is also against posting pictures of children on social media, called my wife last night. Her stepmother crossed a line but said cutting her off from our children was an exaggeration. She has just started to make money with social media, but she also loves our kids very much, and it's cruel to force her to choose. I don't think we're in the wrong here, but I'm still worried we're taking this too far. Update 1. I feel like I should mention the following. My wife's stepmother is 45. I'm not bullying the elderly here. She has 60,000 followers on Instagram. Her Instagram account is not focused solely on my children. She started out as a lifestyle blogger. A few years ago, she started posting family stuff as well, and now at least half of her content revolves around that. She tries to post pictures of my kids every time she takes them. Every time we see her, she posts a new picture. She has also posted more photos of my daughter than of my son. Both me and my wife are on Instagram, but not very actively. She has a private account and another one for her job. I only have my personal account, in which I rarely post anything. Have ever posted our children's faces in any of these accounts. Doesn't see her stepmother as a parent. She started dating my father-in-law when my wife was 20. They're not very close. Don't see her as a grandmother either. This isn't about me looking for a reason to cut ties with my in-laws. I get along very well with my wife's father. And besides her behavior concerning social media, I have no problem with her stepmother. I really shouldn't have to explain why me and my wife don't want pictures of our children online. If you are a parent who has no problem with others posting photos of your kids, that's fine. I'm not here to change your mind, nor would I attempt to if I were. Your decisions regarding your children are your own, as are mine. None of us live in the United States. I talked things through with my wife. As upset as we are about this, we feel the need to deal with it fairly. So we have to take into consideration that 1. Mother's account is not focused solely on our children. We had never threatened her with loss of contact before, so our ultimatum might have been too sudden. That said, we are still not comfortable with our children being posted on social media, and we regret not effectively stopping this sooner. However we move forward, we need to make it clear that we are serious about this boundary. Update 2. A few days ago, my wife and I met her father and stepmother at their place. We left the kids with my wife's mother. We sat them down and told them we'd retract the ultimatum, but we don't trust her stepmother not to sneak pictures of our children again. To propose something many of you suggested, policy, which we would all abide by. Whenever my wife's stepmother saw our kids, we'd no longer receive any pictures of them from anyone. Posted a photo of our children anywhere again, then we would cut her off from them. My father-in-law agreed right away, but his wife got offended. She said we couldn't control how she used her phone. Promised us she'd stop posting the kids again, but we said no to her anymore, and we have no intention of giving her more chances. An argument about this. My father-in-law mostly took our side, while my wife's stepmother started by apologizing, but eventually started trying to defend herself. She always thought we were overreacting, and that lots of people post pictures of their children online every day without any problems. We asked her why she was so insistent on posting pictures of our kids. Dodged the question at first, but she admitted that posts with the kids got more engagement. New Year's post as an example. It was only up for a little over 24 hours before she took it down, but she claimed it was one of her most successful posts ever. Why she thought that had happened? She said it was because the kids looked so cute in them. My wife looked at her stepmother and said, "No, it's because they're barely dressed in them." You cannot convince us that a photo of our 5-year-old daughter in a swimsuit is getting attention from thousands of strangers because she's cute. Either you're an idiot or you know what you're doing by posting these pictures. She started crying. She said her content was wholesome, her followers were good people, and we had no right to control her like that. My father-in-law was silent when we gave up. Keep her Instagram, but accept she is losing access to our kids. She tried more excuses, including, "Some of my followers think they're my kids," which my wife is especially furious about. But we stood our ground and went home. My father-in-law called me and my wife later that night. He told us he was disappointed in his wife and was taking our side. We're not sure how to deal with him. Neither of us want to cut him off, but we're not certain we can trust him. My wife just told him we needed some space, and he said that was fine. I'm exhausted, and my wife is doing even worse. But we've spoken about this, and we're both also relieved. We've still got work to do, but nothing we can't handle. AITAH for breaking off my engagement because my fiancé made an offensive joke about me to his friends. I, 28F, and my fiancé, 32M, have been together for 5 years. For the sake of anonymity, I'll be referring to him as John. John and I have had a wonderful and loving relationship for these past 5 years, and I truly saw myself with him for the rest of my life. We've had our ups and downs, but not once has John ever made me feel like I wasn't enough. He's supported me in all of my endeavors and dreams, and our relationship even survived 9 months of being long distance as I'd been sent to another state for work in 2021. I truly love John, and even now, I still love him. But I have my doubts now about how he feels about me. A little context. I grew up fat. I had been fat when we met, and for the first 3 years of our relationship, I was fat. This isn't a problem and never has been in our relationship, but it was something I had a problem with about myself. I wanted to be healthier and to simply lose the weight because I knew it would make me happier. John was supportive of this. He said he'd love me no matter what form I took because it was my heart and soul he'd fallen for. I had believed that, as I had no reason not to. John has always made me feel that he loves me and made me feel desired. But now, I've lost half of what I weighed before, and at my age, and due to being overweight my entire life, I have plenty of loose skin. I am absolutely insecure about it, and John knows this. He's made every effort to reassure me that he still finds me beautiful and that he looks at my body as the evidence of how hard I've worked and how far I've come. He reassures me that he still loves being intimate with me and loves my body, even as it's changed. I felt so lucky to have a man who loved me so unconditionally and truly. Recently, John and I had gone out with a bunch of our friends as we'd not been able to align our schedules until now. Whenever we go out with a big group like this, John and I usually spend the beginning of the evening and the end of the evening together at the party. At some point in the middle, we always split off to go socialize with our friends separately. When it came time that I went to rejoin John, I'd seen him with his best friend and a couple others, engaged in conversation. John's back was to me, and his friends were all chuckling about something as I approached, but I stopped dead in my tracks when I heard John tell his best friend that my body looked like a deflated weather balloon, and that it was hard for him to not laugh when we were intimate and my body moved. I had never expected the man who spoke so warmly and lovingly to me always to talk about me in such a way. John was the man I was going to spend the rest of my life with. He'd known my insecurities and still loved me anyway. At least, so I thought. Needless to say, I was hurt and angry and devastated. I walked up to him, handed him his ring without a word, and I left. I didn't even go to our home. I went to a hotel and stayed there. I turned off my phone and just took a couple of days to just cry out my heartache. When I turned my phone back on, there were messages and voicemails from John and our friends. Most of John's messages were apologetic and begging me to talk and come home. But then, the most recent were the opposite. He said I was cruel and cold for ignoring him and breaking off the engagement without warning or so much as an explanation. When I responded to him and told him I'd heard what he'd said, John told me that I was acting like a child because I took his joke too seriously, that he was just trying to make his friend laugh. I asked him why he needed to make his friend laugh at my expense by telling him about my body and how it looked to him, or how he struggled not to laugh at me when we were intimate. He didn't respond. Instead, as I'm writing this, I'm still receiving messages from our friends telling me that he's sorry and that I should see how miserable he is without me, that I'm so cold and a bitch for running off like that instead of giving John a chance to explain himself. I'm hurt. I genuinely don't know if I was too rash in breaking off our engagement, but the only thought in my head and what is still sticking with me now is that when I was fat, people mocked me because of my body all the time. I lost the weight only to still have people mock me because of my body, and it just so happened to be the one person I allow to see me at my most vulnerable who showed me that. I know John's hurting, or at least seems to be, but so am I. Should I have heard him out? 5 years, and I didn't even give him the chance to explain or to really apologize. I just shut him out immediately. I still love the man. Those feelings don't go away overnight, but I don't want to hear his apology. I don't want his explanation. I'm just angry and hurt, and my friends seem to think I'm throwing away my relationship over something easily fixable. Update 1. I have left John. I don't intend to go back or try to fix things when it's not my responsibility to do so in the first place, and it's not something that can be fixed anyhow. A lot of you said it would be hard to forget that he'd said that, and you're all right. I saw him once just to move my things out with the help of my brother. Truly my hero in all of this. And despite the apologies and begging for me not to go, all I could hear was his joke and the way he laughed when he said it. It was like it was all I would ever hear from his mouth, no matter what he actually said. I told him that if he actually loved me, he would have never treated me like a joke, and that was the last thing I said to him. He's tried calling, but I've blocked his number. I'm staying with my brother, and John's been smart enough to not come by because my brother told him if he walked onto his property, the only way he'd be leaving is in cuffs or a bag. John seemed damn intimidated by that, thankfully, so I feel safe here. Going forward, I know I'll be okay. I'm going to take time to focus on myself, move, and work towards my own goals. I think it will be a good way to let go of this relationship and what could have been by reminding myself of who I am outside of it. AITA for cutting off my family because they won't fire my rapist? I, 24F, was raped repeatedly as a child for 13 years by a driver who has worked for my grandparents for over 30 years and the same duration in my own home by another man. When it happened at home, it was usually when my parents went out to socialize after work, leaving me alone and vulnerable. I recently confronted my grandparents about what happened, but instead of firing him, they suggested I visit them so we could confront him together. The thought of being in the same room as my rapist horrifies me, and their suggestion only made it clear they don't believe me. They've chosen to keep him employed, saying they'll eventually let him go. Not because of what he did to me, but because they plan to retire and won't need him for chores anymore. They said this 5 years ago. This has left me feeling guilty and confused. I often find myself downplaying my own pain, convincing myself that what happened wasn't that bad, but I know it was. My parents are divorced, and I'm trying to forgive them. But it hasn't been easy. My dad has been deeply apologetic, saying, "I'll be sorry for the rest of my life. Nothing will ever make this better." My mom, however, is dismissive. She keeps saying, "We're sorry. What else do you want us to do?" She also expects me to forgive my rapist because, according to her, I'm in therapy and on medication, so something should come out of it. My older brother has been abusive my entire life. He's hit me until the age of 19, berated me until I left the country, and made horrific comments like, "Animal abuse is worse. If you didn't report it as an adult, how can I believe you? The cops will laugh at you and might even rape you to show you what a rape is." My dad and I have cut ties with him, but my mom refuses to hold him accountable, saying she's attached to him because she's his mother. Recently, she told my dad that she's staying away from me altogether because she probably doesn't want to take sides. To make things worse, my mom's sister, my aunt, accused me of trying to kill my grandparents by stressing them out with my request to fire the driver. When I confronted her, she gaslit me, saying, "I thought you wanted to be like me. I guess you don't love or respect me anymore." I've since cut her off completely. The only consistent support I've received is from my dad and my cousins, who really just are my siblings at this point, to be honest. They fully believe me and understands the pain I've endured. Everyone else has shown me that protecting my rapist for their own convenience and avoiding confrontation matters more to them than my safety and sanity. Today, I'm a 24F with body image issues. Chronic pelvic pain from forceful penetration from the abuse, no sensation in my cheeks from my rapists occasionally beating me in the shower, and a multitude of mental health challenges that are not worth getting into. But to put it shortly, OCD, ADHD, and an eating disorder amongst the good old PTSD, depression, and anxiety. The abuse wreaked havoc in my nervous system as I now suffer from POTS, which was only recently diagnosed, but the symptoms have been there since I was a child. I also started suffering from tinnitus in 2020 when I was begging my folks to get me justice in whatever way they can. I've since not slept on my left side because of how loud the ringing in my ear is. Suffer from spondylitis, which has removed the presence of 2 of my vertebrae from every spinal x-ray because sleeping is tough as I'm always on edge. I haven't sat alone in silence with my thoughts in 5 years. because the ringing is ever present. This is not normal. This is not okay. I made it clear to my grandparents. They don't need to fire the driver by confronting him. Just let him go. Say his services aren't required. I'm willing to do it that way too. But here we are. So, at the risk of my brother reading this here goes nothing, I guess. My mom keeps saying I ruin relationships because I've cut off people who didn't protect or support me, or who didn't do what I needed in present time as an adult. So, AITA, Update 1. First off, I am deeply grateful for the kindness and empathy you've shown not just to my adult self who's navigating through this situation, but also my younger self that needed help and support. To clarify, I was raped and abused by 2 different men, one who caused me the most physical and mental damage. This was in my own home. The second man, the driver, would hurt me during summer break at my grandparents' home every year for 13 to 14 years. Now, as for the update, I've decided to move forward at the best of my capacity and double down on therapy and medication, if necessary. I know a lot of you read my comment about why it's borderline impossible to report this situation to the police, but the unfortunate truth is that this 100% is indicative of the bitter reality that I'm not his first victim. However, the city that I come from is extremely brutal in its privacy practices and safety post-reporting. Victims are silenced by entire communities because of their uneducated and corrupt policies. I will always champion for victims like myself to take a stand for themselves, but it truly is a privilege to do so and not the norm. I've decided to not pursue any more communication with my aunt, grandparents, mother, and brother, as they've also collectively decided to end things before I was afforded the chance to do so. My father has taken a stand and shared his position very clearly to all of them. Now it's time to address sexual abuse head-on in therapy, as opposed to only when the PTSD gets worse on certain days. I have a dog that is in the process of getting trained to become a cardiac alert and a psychiatric service animal. This will ensure that I can count on stability and security in my health and well-being at least. And now, to the B-Nod, who wrote the following on my original post. I'm calling BS on this story. No one is repeatedly raped for 13 years unless they enjoyed it. You could have stopped it after the first time. If parents don't intervene, go to the police. On behalf of every child sexual abuse survivor, with the utmost insincerity and plight, I sincerely hope you get fucked. AITAH for ruining my family's New Year Eve by refusing to join the fun because I didn't want to be the DD again? I, 26F, need some serious perspective. I'm starting to think I might be the asshole, but I still feel like I'm in the right LOL. Every New Year's Eve, my family has a big party at my aunt and uncle's house, and every year, without fail, I end up being the DD. Don't get me wrong, I love my family, but it's starting to bug me. It's been like this since I was 19, even before I was legally allowed to drink. I don't drink much, maybe a glass of wine or a beer, but I don't get plastered. I'm fine with driving people home if they need it, but for the past few years, everyone expects me to not drink so I can drive them back. Every year, it's the same. Oh, can you drive? You're not drinking anyway. I always say yes because I don't want to let anyone down. Fast forward to this year's New Year's Eve. I told my family ahead of time I wasn't going to be the DD anymore. I just wanted to enjoy the night, have a couple of drinks, and not be responsible for getting everyone home. I even told my cousin who usually gets really sloshed that I wasn't driving this year, and she was fine with it. When I got to the party, it was the usual chaos. People were drinking, laughing, and having a good time. I was enjoying myself, but around 11, my cousin came over and asked if I was ready to drive everyone home. I reminded her, I'm not driving tonight. I'm here to enjoy the party. She looked at me like I was crazy and said, come on, you always drive, don't be a bitch. Which, like, WTF? I tried to explain calmly that I wasn't being a bitch, just that I wasn't going to be the chauffeur anymore. Then, my aunt overheard and pulled me aside. She lectured me, saying, we all agreed last year you'd be driving. You know how much we rely on you. Everyone else is too tipsy and Ubering is so unsafe. Just drive this one time for the family. I felt a ton of pressure but refused. I told her I'm not their chauffeur and wasn't going to do it again just because no one else could figure out their own ride. My aunt got upset, saying I was being selfish and that we're family. She said I'm the only one who doesn't get too drunk, so it makes sense for me to help out. I told her I'd already had 3 beers, so I wasn't even legally supposed to drive myself. That's when I snapped. I told them it's not my job to be their DD every year just because I'm the only one who doesn't get blackout drunk. They needed to figure out their own rides this time. Then I got up and left. I felt bad walking out, but I didn't want to be a doormat anymore. I spent the rest of New Year's Eve at home, watching Netflix and eating leftover pasta with my boyfriend. My family texted me, calling me dramatic, selfish, and saying I ruined the night. They said I was being super sensitive and that everyone was disappointed in me. Everyone's demanding an apology out of me even now. And by the way, I got home perfectly safe by Uber. Update 1. Before I get onto that, I want to address some popular questions from my last post. Some people got confused and asked similar questions, so I thought it might be nice to answer them here. How do I give everyone a ride home? My family lives about an hour and a half from my aunt's house, so I'd fill my car with everyone I could and take them home. The next day, they'd take their spouses' cars to pick up the ones they left. Stupid, I know. How did I get home? I Ubered. Why was my cousin asking to leave at 11? She was drunk and probably had no idea what time it was. My aunt overheard me getting a little upset and pulled me aside, which sparked everything. I ended up sending a text to our family group chat, including those who didn't make it to the party but heard about what happened. I'll copy and paste what I said here. Hey everyone, I'm not going to apologize for what happened on New Year's Eve. I told you all well in advance that I wasn't going to be the designated driver this year, and I expected you to respect that. I'm not anyone's personal chauffeur, and I'm done being treated like I'm responsible for everyone else's lack of planning. When cousin called me a bitch for not driving, that was uncalled for. And aunt, name, lecturing me about being selfish and ruining the night because I chose to enjoy myself instead of taking on that responsibility again? I love you all, but I can't be your punching bag anymore. I'm not going to keep letting myself be the one who sacrifices for everyone else's convenience. I've done it for years, and I'm done. Next year, I think I'll be spending New Year's somewhere else. I wish you all safe rides home and hope you'll be able to figure something out. I'll be taking some space from everyone and hope you will understand. I then made the painful decision of blocking my parents, who have been calling me terrible names and making me feel like complete shit since this happened. I never realized how dark my childhood was with all the gaslighting. My parents are probably the reason I have such severe anxiety. My sister and brother are on my side and equally pissed off at our family, so I still got them at least. I really do want to thank you all. I've always known something was off with my family, but I never realized how much I was taken for granted, how unloved I felt until now. Thank you for helping me realize that I'm worth more. And to end on a positive note, my boyfriend is now my fiancé. A few days after my post, he proposed. His original plan was to take me to see some cutesy light displays in our town after I got home, and propose there, which made my heart melt a little since I knew he was so tired after working lol. But when he saw me walk in crying, he read the room and switched things up. When I was feeling better, he took me to dinner and proposed there. I have no idea how the wedding will go or if my parents will be there, but I'm excited to spend it with the people who love and appreciate me. My wife is not my wife. My wife, F26, weighs 140 and 5 feet 6 inches, takes Zepbound 10 milligrams, fluvoxamine 100 milligrams, and occasionally trazodone 50 milligrams for sleep. She was prescribed Zepbound for weight loss, moving to maintenance shots soon, while the Luvox is for her OCD and trazodone for insomnia caused by her OCD. She has been doing okay on her Luvox, though still struggles sometimes. She's been taking it for about 3 weeks now, which before she was on fluvoxetine 50 milligrams for about 6 weeks. Last night, while rocking our son, the blink camera in his room started blinking green. She texted me and told me to unplug it, and also our daughters. After laying him down, she started freaking out about the technology in our house. She said that they were watching her children, that the cameras needed to be ripped off the wall. I tried to reason with her, but she had this crazy look in her eyes and asked if I was working with them. Then, for the next 30 minutes, she went around and unplugged all of our technology. TVs, Google Home, took cameras off, etc., and put them in a box to hide in the bathroom. She then hid herself in the bathroom and wouldn't come out until I told her I believed her. I coaxed her upstairs, and she told me she could see people in bed, but they weren't scary. She also said she could hear people walking, and while she was downstairs, someone kept walking up behind her. Shortly after, she fell asleep. However, I woke up this morning and she had moved to the couch. This morning, she seems out of it, but remembers most of last night. She said she is still scared, that she didn't feel in control of her body last night and basically is drawing in on herself. I almost called 911 last night because I was worried she was going to try and take the kids. I'm still worried because what was that? Is she safe? Is she okay? Should she go to the hospital even if she feels normal now? It all happened out of the blue. Update 1. First, for the good news, my wife is okay. She is going to be okay. She got admitted into our psychiatric hospital for a few days to start some treatment that includes new medicine, counseling, getting established with an in-person psychiatrist and therapist. The doctors at the ER were amazing with her, and she got to call me from hospital phone to let me know she's feeling safe. Hearing her voice, though I can tell she was tired, was amazing. The doctors and nurses on the phone were telling me how good it was that she came voluntarily, that her support system at home was good, and that so far she was being a cooperative and pleasant patient. I haven't had any childcare yet as our family is driving up here to help our children. However, I was able to be on the phone to listen to what the thoughts of the psychiatrist are. Unbeknownst to me, that my wife told the doctors is that she has had an increase in paranoia and auditory hallucinations over the last weekish. She has told me different times this week how on edge she feels, but never explained further. I feel awful for not having noticed before. The psychiatrist told me she was at the right age for mood and thought disorders to start developing, specifically schizophrenia, but that normally one wouldn't realize until after their first episode of psychosis. Most people apparently don't even go to the ER after their first episode, brushing it off as a one-off thing. Obviously, they want to do more tests, get an image of her head with tons of blood work and more doctors. It sounded to me that's what they were leaning towards, which, I will not lie, scares me as the only thing I know about that is from TV or movies. She told me there was medication that can really help manage that, and they wanted to start her on antipsychotics. She can have visitors tomorrow, and I'm bringing her all of her favorite comfy clothes. No strings or zippers. And I will sit with her once family gets home. I miss her so much, but I hope this helps her. Again, I want to thank this community so much for urging me to get her seen, even though she seemed fine. You all are lifesavers. AITA for being upset. My girlfriend puts an AirTag on my motorcycle to prove a point to her mom? I'm 27 and my girlfriend is 33. Although our relationship started out very intense and unpredictable, we quickly developed strong feelings and have been together for 3 years. Despite being together that long, I just met my girlfriend's parents for the first time a few weeks ago. She's an only child and said she didn't want to introduce anyone she dated to her parents unless she knew this was the person she wanted to marry. Her parents also live abroad, and due to COVID and her dad's health problems, they didn't visit her for a while. She usually went to visit them. It was a big step for her to tell me she wanted me to meet them, and I did my best to make a good impression. I was raised by my grandmother. When she passed, my older sister took over caring for me. My girlfriend has had a stable upbringing. Her parents are wealthy, and she's led a privileged life. We don't have the same life experiences, and it was never a problem until I met her parents. If anything, for some reason, the differences between us added to our relationship in ways. Unfortunately, I got the impression her parents were scrutinizing every aspect of my life over the dinner we had on our first meeting, and this included my family. I stayed true to myself and maintained my confidence, but left the interaction feeling like I bombed a test. My girlfriend reassured me they liked me, but her mood over the few days afterward suggested otherwise. I called her out on it and pressed her for an explanation. I learned she's been upset because of a fight she had with her mother following the dinner. Her mother thinks I'm just having fun with her daughter, that I will get bored and leave her, and she's too old to be wasting time with me. Apparently, her mother got this impression entirely from the way I look, and this judgment about me trumps anything else I shared about myself. My girlfriend and I decided to have me spend more time with her family over the coming holidays, so I have been going over every day and involving myself in shopping trips, etc. with my girlfriend and her mom, hoping that she would get to know me and overcome whatever skepticism she has. I even spent hours getting a crash course in a strategy board game her dad plays and started playing with him to continue learning it as a form of bonding. Despite feeling like I won her dad over, I felt like her mom was constantly evaluating my loyalty in subtle, unrealistic ways. Examples include overanalyzing how I interact with others in public, reading too much into the way I smile, and the way I show affection toward my girlfriend. According to my girlfriend's mom, the fact that I have a motorcycle makes me extra slutty, and that's how this escalated. My sister and I have an 18-year-old dog. It's been a tough few months for him. I think he's approaching the end. For that reason, usually one of us is always with him. He's on the smaller side, so he's easy to bring along anywhere. I've had to leave to give medicine to my dog at certain times of the day because he's on a schedule, and I guess my girlfriend's mom found even this to be suspicious. The other day, I left my girlfriend and her family to go give my dog his medicine, and on my way there, my phone alerted that an AirTag was traveling with me. When I reached my place, I searched all my pockets and stuff and eventually found it on the motorcycle itself. It was connected to my girlfriend's mom's number. I told my girlfriend, and my girlfriend said she put her mom's AirTag on my bike to prove to her mom that I was not lying about where I was going. I get that she was trying to defend me, but I feel angry at her. It's hard to articulate, but ever since I met my girlfriend's family, microaggressions by her mom are really getting to me, and it's hard to separate them from my girlfriend. Hoping I'm just overstimulated by all this and things will get better after Christmas is over. I'm not sure if I'm an for being cold toward my girlfriend about the AirTag though, but it's a frustration that I'm having trouble letting go of. Update 1. I'm 28M. My girlfriend is 33F. We've been together for a few years and have discussed getting married. Unfortunately, ever since I met her parents last year, their behavior, specifically her mom, has made it difficult for me to see a future anymore. Her mom mistrusts me, and it's all based on superficial impressions and assumptions about who she thinks I am. I have tried to show her parents patience, and I've been extremely respectful, giving them opportunities to get to know me and overcome their prejudices. Everything came to a head when I went to visit my home country. I have a place here, and I came to see a friend get married. Her parents showed up unannounced and requested a ride from the airport. I immediately called my girlfriend despite the time difference because I was in shock. She claims she had no idea about their plans. They claim it was all impromptu, cheap flight, last minute, etc. I just don't buy it. Anyway, I picked them up and they're currently staying with me in my apartment. They've got no itinerary, but want me to arrange them to see XYZ. And of course, they need me as translator. Everything is apparently too foreign to them. They're lost without me. They refuse to go anywhere without me as an escort. My girlfriend is apologetic, but I just don't see her supporting me in dealing with her parents, especially her mom, who is the instigator. The dad has no backbone, is forced to follow her. I posted another issue a while back too. My girlfriend doesn't support me in setting boundaries, so as her partner I fall into a rock and a hard place type situation. I can't tell if I'm being cold and uninviting, or if these people are crazy and my girlfriend is so afraid of them she didn't even warn me about something like this. I feel like I can handle anything if she's on my side, but it doesn't feel like she is. Maybe I can't be with someone like that. Female colleague wrongly accused me of filming her in the workspace. I'm deeply affected. Gents, please let me know what you would have done. Every day during lunch, I, 31, will rest at a communal sofa area in our office. Usually it's just me and 2 other guys occupying the space. Last Friday when I went there, I saw a lady lying down on one of the sofa resting. I didn't think much of it and took the sofa opposite to it. The sofas are face-to-face for context. I was swiping on my phone watching TikToks nonchalantly when she woke up, saw me and left. Sometime later, she came back with another colleague making rounds around the area, so I asked them if everything is all right. They say they dropped something. I asked if they needed help looking for it. They say no and left, and I kept on with my business. After which I went back to work. About an hour later, I was summoned to a meeting room by the CEO's personal assistant, female. She told me the lady who was resting there woke up to my camera pointing at her and she felt like I was filming her. I was really taken aback and caught by surprise. I was asked to explain myself, and at that moment I really didn't know how to, especially since there weren't any CCTV around to verify my claim. I told her it's my daily routine and the other guys can verify my claim, but unfortunately they weren't around that day to back me up. Since I was summoned out of the blue, my phone was on my desk. So I requested for her to retrieve my phone and I can unlock on the spot to let them go through everything just to prove my innocent. The PA then asked if I was okay having a conversation with the lady, which I agreed because I was eager to clear my name. Throughout the whole session, I repeatedly offered to show them my phone and had to justify why I was there with my phone. She declined the offer and told me I should have better social awareness. She didn't dare look me in my eyes, and it made me feel like a predator. I was very upset, but I can see her being traumatized, perhaps having some previous unpleasant episodes herself. So I apologized for making her felt unsafe, and we left. She did not apologize for the accusation. I just felt really unfair, because it is a communal area that everyone have access to. I wasn't hiding my presence too, I was just resting as she was. It wasn't like I was trespassing into the ladies' toilet or anything. I was just going about with my daily routine. Her being there for the first time and making such claim against me is really hurtful. I was there thinking we were equal, but she clearly saw me as a predator. I can't help but wonder if it was a lady sitting opposite of her with her phone on her hand. Would this lady had reacted the way she did? I just joined this company about half a year ago, and I really enjoy my work and environment. I do see myself working here long time, but I don't know how this is going to affect me in the long run. I've been losing sleep last few nights just thinking about her going about painting me as the office perv. For a moment, I really felt like the ladies that was accused of being witches during the Salem witch trial. On one hand, I totally understand her concern. I have sisters, and if they felt like they were filmed, I do wish that they have the courage and means to confront the other party. But as I'm standing on the receiving end of this unfair accusation, I really don't know what I could have or should have done to better articulate my views and defended myself. I tried my whole life to be the gentleman, to build my reputation and uphold equality. But after that incident, I felt like it all crumbled down. So, Gents and SG, could you please tell me what you would have done? Please excuse any grammatical errors. I'm just ranting ATM and do not have the headspace to care for perfect English. I'm deeply affected and frustrated. Edit. Thank you everyone for the respond. It really means a lot to me. I don't even know how to express my gratitude, but thank you for sharing your views. Note 1. CEO's PA is neutral. In fact, I'm glad she was the one who took up the role as mediator. I don't know why HR wasn't involved, but the lady that came about with the accuser was part of HR. Maybe they think it warrants further escalation to higher-ups. Note 2. The lady was there on the sofa area because she was feeling unwell. The wellness room was also occupied, so she had no choice but to use the communal sofa area. Note 3. I notice a lot of PPL are asking me to avoid her moving forward, but I wonder if avoiding her will make her feel like I was feeling guilty furthermore. I did avoided her the whole of Friday because I didn't want any further unhappy interactions. Note 4. I don't really care for her apology anymore. I just wanted to know what I should have done to protect myself. It's my first time dealing with this, and caught by surprise, so I couldn't find anything to protect myself. I hope I can clear my name. Final update. Hi all, thank you so much for the advices and suggestions. The first thing I did today, 30th of September, was to talk to HR. Unfortunately, we don't have a single. Update 1. The first thing I did today, 30th of September, was to talk to HR. Unfortunately, we don't have a single guy in HR, so I spoke to a lady, but she was nevertheless very helpful. She told me HR was made aware of this incident, but they do not intend to formally investigate as no formal complaints were logged. She said the accuser did not want them involved as well, and she seeked the PA assistance because the PA was a registered mental health first aider. She told me they did had a conversation with the accuser, and she is seeking professional help as she feels very embarrassed and guilty for putting me through this. HR told me the accuser wondered if she might have overreacted. HR asked me what do I intend to do. I told them I am not intending to seek retribution against the accuser, but I will write in formally a recollections of what happened. I told them I am still willing to cooperate if they needed any investigation, to which HR said no. While I do not intend to bring things further, I will reserve my rights to seek justice if I hear any rumor spread about me. HR reassured me they will do damage control on my behalf and make sure no rumor spread beyond us. I am not sure how effective this will be, but I am ready to move on. My boyfriend's mother hates me, and I don't know what I've done. My boyfriend's mom seems to hate me, and it's been really hard to deal with. I'm 22, and my boyfriend is 26. We've been together for 9 months, and I moved into his apartment after 3 months of dating. His parents live in a different house, just 30 minutes away from his apartment. His mom visits often, but whenever she does, she completely ignores me or barely talks to me. I've tried to be nice and friendly, but she only gives me one-word answers or acts cold. Today, I made spaghetti from scratch, and my boyfriend loved it. Even his dad said it was good, but his mom refused to eat. When they asked her to at least try it, she got angry. I told them it's fine and not to force her, but it still hurt. She also acts like the apartment is hers, going through every room, including our closet and drawers. I know she's his mom, but I wish she would respect our privacy. She also complains that I spend too much of my boyfriend's money on dresses and heels, which isn't true because I pay for my own things. When I bring up how she treats me to my boyfriend, he just brushes it off, saying, "Don't mind her, she's always like that." When I asked him, "Did your mom treat your ex the same way?" he says he doesn't want to talk about his past relationships. My boyfriend talks a lot about having kids with me, but I don't think I can handle being a part of this family. I'm afraid that if we have a baby, his mother will treat our child badly too. Should I end things with him? He's a really good, funny, and gentle guy, but his mom is a big problem. Update 1. So, like many of you suggested, I searched up enmeshment and watched a few YouTube videos some of you DM me about mommy's boys. It was eye-opening and disgusting. I can't imagine a future where his mother constantly intervenes in our lives. Like some of you pointed out, there's even a chance she could turn my future children against me if things stay the same. I want my kids to grow up in a happy, healthy environment. After reading hundreds of your responses, I decided to talk to my boyfriend. I showed him this post, like a few of you suggested, and let him read the comments. He only got through 1 or 2 before getting defensive and angry. He said I was being too overdramatic and insisted his mom wasn't doing anything wrong. He even said she only comes over because she cares about him, and even accused me of being jealous because my parents aren't as involved in my life as his mom is in his. I got upset and told him, just because she's your mom doesn't mean she can come into our home, open our closets and drawers, and invade our privacy. How would you feel if I brought my parents here and let them go through your laptop, phone, and closet? He got even more irritated and accused me of intentionally trying to piss him off. Then he sarcastically told me to go ahead and bring my family over to do the same thing. I also brought up how his mom constantly judges my clothes and accuses me of spending his money, even though I pay for my own things. I said, "You don't even bother to defend me or correct her." He said, "These aren't serious issues, you're just making them into a big deal because you want to fight with me. Are you on your period or something?" I got mad and said, "Are you serious right now? Just because I'm upset about your mom's behavior, you're assuming I'm on my period? Is that really how little you think of me?" He laughed like a fake laugh and said, "Calm down. I'll make you your favorite Missy Carbonara." He was so irritating and I told him, "I wonder what bad things your mom says about me to other people. Who knows, maybe you even join in with her to mock me, just because I don't understand your language." He's Italian. He didn't even respond and just walked into the kitchen. I followed him and said, "You don't even care to see my side of things. If your mom doesn't change her behavior, I'm breaking up with you. I deserve better than this, and I can find another man who's much better than you." That's when he stopped. N came to me and grabbed my arm and told me to stop talking about breaking up. He said he loves me too much to let me go and even said his mother loves me too, but she's not showing it. Which honestly felt like a joke considering how she's treated me. He promised to talk to his mom, set boundaries, and make sure she respects me moving forward. He also said he wouldn't allow her to go through our room again. For now, I'm staying with him, but if he doesn't follow through, I'll seriously end things. I've been getting bombarded with DMs saying I'm making a mistake and that I'm foolish for staying, so I just want to say sorry. When he said, he loves me too much to let me go, and he even said other sweet words to me and kissed me, I genuinely thought he meant it in a loving way and didn't see it as a red flag. But after reading all of your responses, I realize now that I was blind to it. I'll be leaving him when he goes to work. My mom explained why she's always been partial to my sister. Okay, so I, 17, have a twin sister, and if I'm being honest, our mom has always seemed more partial to her. She's always far quicker to give her hugs and compliments, and she seems a bit more emotionally distant to me. I've noticed it my whole life, and I've tried not to let it bother me, but things finally came to a head recently. I don't really want to get into the inciting incident that started this. Long story short, we've been looking at colleges, and I was upset because it seemed like she wanted my sister to stay local more than she wanted me to. And I told her she loved my sister more than me our whole lives, and she didn't give a shit about me, and I'm still not sure why. Today she came in my room and asked if we could talk, and she said there's something she felt it was time to tell me. Then she opened up about her childhood, something she's never done, and explained that her father abused her sexually, and she had brothers who abused her too, and it instilled a deep disdain towards men in her. She told me she's been meaning to go to therapy and get help, but she told me it breaks her heart that she ever made me feel like she loved me less than my sister, and she's been trying my whole life to get the fuck over it and grow up, and that it breaks her heart that I haven't had the mom I deserve. She started crying, and I hugged her and told her I loved her, and she was a great mom, and I was lucky to have her. Afterwards, I suggested we go out to dinner, just the two of us, and I could pay, and she said she'd take me up on that under the condition she'd pay. So we had a really nice dinner, and we talked, and I felt I connected with her in a way I hadn't before. I can't really explain it, but I felt like I saw her and she saw me in a different, but good way. Overall, gonna be honest, I feel terrible because I feel like I made her trauma all about me. She's a wonderful person, and I don't know why I'd accuse her of not loving me like she loves my sister. Alls I know is that I'm gonna be better to her and understand she's doing her best, as we all are. That's all. Just figured I'd share somewhere okay. Yes, my mom has been making mistakes with not getting treatment and how she's been more partial to my sister than me. However, that doesn't mean she's a horrible mother like a bunch of comments are insinuating. She's a human being in pain, and she was able to admit when she did something wrong. And just so everyone knows, she did make some calls and has an intake therapy appointment on Wednesday. If I made my mother sound like she hated me or was blatantly awful to me, she doesn't and she isn't. I love her and she loves me, and we're going to do better from now on. Update 1. Ever since I first confronted her about it, I've had this sense of resentment towards her I'd been trying to compartmentalize and deal with later, or at least in my own therapy sessions. As of late, it's been getting harder to ignore them, And over the weekend, I lost my temper and yelled at her, asking why she thought it was okay to wait so long to get help and how she probably wouldn't have done anything if I didn't call her out for her bullshit. She heard me out and started to cry and said the only thing she can say is I'm right, and I've always deserved a mom who would outwardly love me as much as my sister, and it breaks her heart. I didn't get that, mother, and all she can say is she's sorry and hopes I can forgive her someday. I didn't say anything in return and just left the house. I haven't confronted her since, and I know she feels bad, and the shitty part of me feels good about that. But I know she needs all the support she can get over it. Update 2. So today, my sister is away at college, and I stayed local and go to community college. Something, I think, I mentioned in my old post was my mom was pushing me to go away to school and encouraging my sister to stay local. Funny how that happens? Anyway, my sister is coming back home this week for the holidays, but I've honestly really enjoyed it here with my mom. She's been making an effort lately to engage with me with the things like passionate about, and I'm a big movie fan, so I've been showing her my favorite movies over the past few months. She's made an insane amount of progress as well, and I'm so proud of her, and we have a wonderful relationship. It certainly wasn't always pretty over the past year, and even though the work isn't always easy, the payoff is certainly worth it. AITA for suing my brother over a family heirloom he gave to his fiancée? I come from a family where heirlooms mean a lot. Our grandmother left us an antique diamond necklace that's been passed down for generations to the first daughter in the family. Since I'm the only daughter of this generation, it was supposed to come to me. My brother claimed Grandma told him in private that it should go to him instead because he's the most responsible. I didn't want to cause drama, so I let it go, even though it felt unfair. Last week, I saw on social media that my brother gave the necklace to his fiancée as an engagement gift. She posted a picture wearing it with the caption, "Feeling like royalty with my new family heirloom." I confronted my brother and reminded him the necklace was meant to stay in the family. He said, "She is family now, don't be petty." When I asked for it back, he refused, saying it would ruin their engagement. I decided to take legal action to get the necklace back. Now my brother is furious and calling me selfish. My parents think I'm overreacting, but some extended family members are on my side, saying he never had the right to give it away. His fiancée even messaged me, calling me a jealous drama queen and telling me to find my own man to buy me jewelry. The whole thing has caused a family feud, and now my brother and his fiancée are threatening to uninvite me from the wedding. Update 1. First, I talked to my parents about the situation. It turns out my brother didn't just take the necklace. He convinced my dad that Grandma told him it was meant for him because she thought a man would be more responsible. My dad, trying to avoid conflict, handed it over without asking questions. So no, my dad didn't intentionally give it to him. It was manipulation. I also reached out to other family members who remember Grandma's clear wishes that the necklace was supposed to go to the first daughter. They're willing to back me up if this goes to court. My dad has also agreed to speak on my behalf in court, clarifying that he never meant to give the necklace away permanently. As for the legal side, I've consulted with my lawyer who thinks I do have a case. Since there's no will, it all comes down to proving that the necklace was meant to stay in the maternal line. It's tricky, but I feel more confident now knowing I have some family members on my side. My brother and his fiancée, however, have doubled down. They've accused me of being jealous, and his fiancée posted another passive-aggressive picture on social media wearing the necklace, captioning it, "Some things just find their rightful home." It's honestly infuriating. At this point, I'm committed to fighting for the necklace, even if it causes more tension in the family. Update 2. My court date is set for the 27th, and I've been doing everything I can to prepare. Honestly, this whole process has been so overwhelming emotionally, mentally, and financially. I never expected that standing up for what's right would come with such a heavy price. I've had to dip into my savings to cover legal fees, which has been stressful, but I can't back down now. The good news is my dad has agreed to testify on my behalf. He's been reflecting on everything and realizes now that my brother manipulated him by claiming that Grandma wanted him to have the necklace. My aunt is also supporting me and has shared specific moments where Grandma talked about how the necklace was supposed to go to me. Having them both on my side is giving me hope. Meanwhile, my brother and his fiancée are making things even messier. She actually brought the necklace to a family dinner recently wearing it like a trophy. She didn't say anything directly, but the way she was flaunting it felt like a calculated move to provoke me. My mom told me to just let it go after that incident, but how can I when it's so clear they're doing this to spite me? I don't know. Sometimes it feels like my mom is supporting my brother. She's been really quiet about all of this. The emotional toll of this fight has been huge, but I'm trying to stay strong. This isn't just about the necklace, it's about honoring my grandmother's wishes and standing up for myself in a family that has always prioritized my brother over me. My parents are lying to me. I know I'm adopted. I found out last night from a 23andMe test that I'm most likely adopted, or my biological dad isn't my dad at the very least. Not enough info on mom's side to be 100% sure. I honestly always had my suspicions, like the lack of pregnancy photos with my mom, who was obsessed with taking photos of everything, and a birth certificate with a different name on it that my brother found of his. When I found out she went on a backpacking trip to Europe when she was supposedly 7 months pregnant with my brother, and I was 1 year old, and the pictures of her looked like she wasn't pregnant, this is what caused me to get a test. I got one for my brother, but he backed out at the last minute for certain reasons I won't get into. He says he is over them, though, and is going to get one now. I got the results of the test late last night, and I have a great-grandfather on my dad's side who isn't supposed to be my great-grandfather or supposed to be alive, but is actually alive and well. I also have an aunt, a few half-aunts and half-cousins, and a couple of cousins I never knew existed, and I don't recognize any of the names. My dad's family was also all boys, so none of this makes sense. I asked my parents to take a DNA test and they refused, so I don't know what to do. I honestly don't know what to feel. So far, I guess I feel a lot of shock and a good bit of anger. I just want to say that I realize now that my dad could have different bio parents and not realize it. But that is the only explanation based off the genetics in the 23andMe profile. I am not giving out all the info on why adoption seems likely BC. It's a lot of details, but both my brother and boyfriend and I heavily suspect it. I am happy for the support I was given, no matter how small it was, in the comments. Thank you. It helped me realize that there are still a few alternative options. I just wanted to edit to say that part of my brother's genetic results came back. He is 25% Italian. We have no Italian in our family, and I am 0% Italian. But that's not even the most damning part. Our maternal haplops are different. I looked it up, and this means that we have different moms. I'm going to take an ancestry test to try to find out more about my biological family's history. Thanks to everyone who was kind and helpful. To everyone who says it's NBD, that's what I thought too until it actually happened to me, and now it has actually affected me a lot. Update 1. I found out, at 30 through 23andMe, that I was adopted. I confronted my parents and they admitted finally that both my brother and I are actually adopted. They told me my birth story, and apparently both my brother and I were born to teen moms. My mom was connected to me, and it was an open adoption, and she kept in contact for a couple years, but my brother's mom not so much. After my parents' disclosure of my biomom's name, I told my second cousin, and she knew who my biomom was. The names and situation ended up completely matching up. I guess my adoption was not a secret at all in their family. My cousin said she would reach out to her to see if she wanted to talk to me at all. But yeah, I'm nervous. I know there is a good chance she won't want to talk, and I will just have to get to know my extended family and accept what it is. But I'm secretly hoping so much that she wants to talk to me. Update 2. I mostly found out through 23andMe. I first did the test on myself 2 months ago, and it came back with a completely different family line. I was so freaked out, because I had honestly been suspicious from the start, so I confronted my parents. Unfortunately, they continued to lie to me. Another red flag is my parents had been completely against me getting the test even to begin with. To settle the matter, I took advice from Off My Chest. See my last post. And my brother did the test right after my results came back. His results came in yesterday, and I saw that we had a different maternal haplop. This means we are not related by mother. His family tree also did not match mine or my parents'. My parents were upset when they had found out my brother got the test and wanted me to shut the test down, but I did not want to do that until I at least saw his results first. And I did in fact make sure I was first to see them before he did. When I saw the shocking results, I then paused the account, essentially, until I at least could figure this out with my parents. I confronted my parents, again, and they finally told the truth. Long story short, they were infertile, and they adopted me and my brother from teen moms after a failed round of IVF. I won't get into the details, but the story of both me and my brother's adoption honestly explains so much of my life. It's crazy. I found my birth mom immediately because I had already been talking to my cousin and I said my biomom's name and she recognized it immediately. I sent her a message, and it turns out I have so many other half-siblings, just on my mom's side. I have been talking to my half-sister who is pretty close in age to me as well. They all said they were waiting for this moment their entire life and said so many sweet things, and I literally cried throughout the day. It was so emotional. So I am going to keep talking to them and see where things go. Hopefully we can become close eventually. Despite all this, and all the lies and bullshit where my entire family knew about this and lied my entire childhood and adult life, and despite the fact that I'm not happy with my parents, they are still my parents. I feel awkward on the etiquette of names for my bio mom, and I do hope I can become close with her, but my mom is always going to be my adoptive mom. Weirdly enough, this almost affirms that they really, truly wanted me in a weird way. I know deep down my mom is worried she would be replaced, or have competition for the role of mom, and that's part of the reason they didn't tell me. But that's definitely not true. It would be lovely to connect with my family of origin and have them be part of my close family, though. And I am excited about the possibilities, but also trying to keep my expectations low. I didn't have finding out I'm truly adopted at 30 years old and meeting my birth family on my 2025 bingo card. But I'm here for it, and it's actually become more and more positive of an experience. I'm driving 5 hours to meet a woman I've been chatting with for 3 days. I'm 36 and she's 32. I've been on the dating apps and platforms for close to 2 years and had horrible success. Like very few matches and no meetups levels of success. Well, I joined a dating Discord for people that play a specific MMO, and this wonderful woman messaged me, and we've been talking for the past 3 days. But wow, I've never felt sparks like this before. She's actually from the Northeast, but moving to the South, a few hours away from me. But right now, she's still fixing up her new house before she moves from the old one. Anyways, she's at the new place doing some painting and a few other odds and ends this week before flying back. But we've just been hitting it off so well, I offered to drive over so we can do a meetup now and help her out for a day or two if she really wanted. She agreed, so I'm headed over this Saturday. I'm slightly worried this could be some weird scam, but I don't really have much to be stolen, so it'd be a lot of effort for little gain on her part. But if this is real, I also have other concerns. Is this going too fast? I'm also a virgin, so I'm already super anxious, and the way she's talking, we'll be sharing a bed the one night I sleep over. I don't know, bros. There's a lot going on in such a short amount of time. I need some outside perspective. After reading the comments, I'll still be going. But I'm only taking myself in clothes. I'm also a mechanic, so I know how to make my car not crank since that'll be the most expensive thing. And I'll also get a hotel room for myself for the night and give a friend my location and check in with him at the end of the day. Update 1. It wasn't a scam. It actually ended up being a 6-hour drive, but it was so worth it. I barely got 3 hours of sleep the night before the drive as my nerves were a mess, but I got there safely. Messaged her every time I stopped for gas and 10 minutes before arriving. She texted we were going to kiss when I got there, and between the lack of sleep, having only 2 energy drinks and water in my stomach, and the massive amounts of anxiety, I thought I was going to throw up. Finally get there and she comes running up expecting a kiss, and what do? Just a hug. I could feel her entering the embrace expecting the kiss. Ugh, I felt so bad. Then I asked her for a tour of the place, and to give me her vision of each room. I didn't hear anything she said because of all the emotions rushing through me. By the time we looped back to the kitchen, I just went for it. Gave her probably the worst kiss she's ever received, and partly because at this point I was starting to shake. I then said I needed to go get my bag out of my car, but before I got to the door, she stopped me and asked if I wanted to try again. Third time was the charm. It was amazing. We went to a museum to just walk around and chat. Ended up holding her hand, and of course the shakes came back. She made a comment about it, and I just told her, I really want to be here, but I hadn't had much sleep, and I've been super anxious about the meetup for days. She was completely understanding and offered to go somewhere else or stop making physical contact. No, I really want this. Just bear with me. Next came dinner, and I had the idea to share a plate because I wasn't going to eat much, and she said she wouldn't either. Got some BBQ, which I don't recommend for a first date, and fries. Then we just picked at the food, barely eating anything while mostly just talking. She has a way of fitting in quirky, cute questions to fill the awkward silence, which was great because I was being massively awkward. We eventually get back to her place and just stand at the kitchen bar talking some more, and she made me some tea to calm me down. It's not late, but too late to go back out. No furniture outside of her brand new bed. She just got set up the day before I got there. Oh boy. She asks what I want to do next, and I asked what she'd recommend. She said we could just chill on the bed and talk some more or sleep or anything I wanted. So we brush our teeth and get down to sleepwear, then start having more conversation. Luckily, the one thing I am good at is eye contact. After a few more quirky questions, we start kissing and cuddling. Didn't even get to the more heated part before I just spilled everything. Told her I was a virgin, partly because I'm a demisexual and also because I've been dealing with past traumas for most of my 30s and just haven't been on the market. Again, she was completely understanding and told me we didn't have to do anything I wasn't comfortable doing. So we continued making out and cuddling, and she continued to respect my comfort zone. Ended up staying an extra day. Day 2 was way better, and I'm not going into details, but I will say this. No walls got painted. She's amazing and beautiful, and I don't know what I did to deserve her, but I'm going to do everything in my power to hold on to her. I want to thank everyone that gave constructive feedback, both for and against. I read most of the replies that showed up in my notifications before I left. I really appreciated the extra perspective, considering how short-circuited this woman makes me. I also realize I should have clarified why I was a virgin before just saying it on the internet. But I wasn't too worried about details on that post, as I was expecting maybe 10 replies, not hundreds. The previous post made it sound like I was driving 5 hours for a booty call. Absolutely not the case. I was driving 5 hours because the conversations we had had up to that point, basically one day's worth, felt like a week's. Advice for anyone in a similar situation: go for it. But be careful. I know the speed of my story seems like a red flag, but everything else was green. I still took some precautions and told people where I was going to be. Be safe, have fun, remember to breathe, and communicate.